Hi, I'm Danielle Gagne from Commercial UAV News, and today I'm speaking with Sharon Rossmark, CEO of Women in Drones. Hi, Sharon. How's it going today?
Great, Danielle. How are you?
Doing fantastic. I'm really excited to talk to you about women in drones. And my first question today is, what got you into drones?
Well, I've told this story 100 times, so I'll make sure I tell it again the same way. My first exposure to drones goes back almost 6 years ago. At the time, I was sitting on the College of Business Advisory Board at Illinois State University. In one of our meetings, we had students give a presentation on a business idea they had developed, and their idea was software for drones. And the drones were going to be used in agriculture. Central Illinois, where the university is located, is primarily agricultural. I was on a panel with several peer business women and men providing feedback to the students on their business ideas. And the students were astute enough to know that they were going to be talking to more seasoned business people. So the concept sounded great. Their approach to it from a check all the boxes sounded great. But I can say overall that as panelists, we were probably less enthusiastic than we would have been if it was a product that we could relate to. And then the students did a demonstration to show a drone flying in the classroom and demonstrated what the drone would do with what the drone's capability would be with their agricultural software. And as soon as the drone took off, lifted off of the ground or lifted off the floor, it just clicked in my brain, oh my God, this is the future. This is going somewhere. I want to be a part of this. And I don't have a technology background. I wasn't part of the tech boom. I came from a totally different industry, probably, I would say, very boring compared to drones. And I just said, I want to find a way to be a part of the future. And that was my first introduction to drones, and I haven't looked back since.
That is so exciting. It's amazing about being able to see what drones can do versus just hearing about it. I think it's very hard to imagine, and the more people who can see and experience that moment, the better for our industry.
Yes.
Um, so what is your role now in the drone industry?
Well, that's a complex question, but let me see if I can break it down. My role is comprised of several key components. So one, I'm a business woman running a multifaceted organization inclusive of marketing operations, drone flight services, media operations, and education. Secondly, I am a Part 107 remote pilot. Third, I am a passionate advocate co-leading, because I can't take sole responsibility, but co-leading a movement towards gender parity in the industry. And lastly, I would say that I'm an educator in two forms. One, obviously supporting STEM programs and community programs, both of which have been a very active part of our work. And then secondly, overall, I would say general public acceptance of drone engagement. For me, it's about having the public understand the value of drones is critical to the success of integrating drones into the national airspace. And so once they really understand what drones are capable of, and there's greater public adoptance and acceptance, I really think that's just the beginning of where we're going. But to answer your question in whole, that's my role in the drone industry. So I wear many hats.
Fantastic. And what are you most looking forward to seeing happen in the coming years?
Oh my God, you know how long that list is? But okay, let me just narrow it down to probably the ones that would be all encompassing. Finalization, if you want to say finalization, but finalization of laws and regulation to allow drones to fly with greater flexibility in the national airspace for business. I mean, that's really what it's all about, right? So that's what I'm looking forward to in the coming years.
I think that sums it right up. Once we get those regulations and they're as seasoned as manned aviation, this industry can truly take off. What are some of the challenges you've had to overcome working with drones?
Oh, you would ask that question, wouldn't you? So let me start off by quoting Deepak Chopra. Obstacles are opportunities in disguise, right? And so considering that 2020 has presented us with obstacles of literally pandemic proportions, at Women in Drones, we're optimistic about the forced environment that we're in. So although we can't travel and conduct business as usual, We found new ways to be more efficient and seek out new opportunities and meet new people, which has been great. But, overall, I would say that we've seen just about every challenge a business could face. So whether it's the challenges of being a woman-owned business, it's a challenge of just being a small business in this industry, we have faced them all. And it was not just all of those in 2020. Some of them obviously predated the pandemic, but they all have come full circle right now in where we are in the midst of a pandemic.
Yes, this is a whole new world, and it's bringing challenges you never thought you would have to face. So, who or what has inspired you, and why?
Well, I think probably like a lot of people, my early influencers and and people that inspired me were parents and teachers. My parents taught me to push through and work harder and push down and get back up. They taught me to not settle for with learning how to survive, but more working towards how to thrive, and if need be, break new ground. I look back now because they're both deceased, and I was quite blessed to have parents with that type of foresight, given the environment and the era that they grew up in. They wanted me to have the opportunities that they did not have access to. And so they were all about encouraging, don't look at what stops you, look at what it takes to continue to move forward. And it may take you longer, but continue to look for ways to thrive. And I was very fortunate that they scrimped and saved and sent my brother and I to Catholic school. And it was reinforced in those days by the Catholic school that everyone can stand up and be heard and has a voice. And again, I look back that now, and it seems like it was 100 years ago, but it's who I am. It's the fabric of my being. And so I would say that my early inspirations came from them and my teachers. And then I can tell you that along the way, I had a lot of inspiration from people who were just the opposite, that taught me how not to treat people and what not to do. And so I was always one to say, okay, I'm in this situation. They're not the nicest people, or they're not the fairest people, but it made me stronger of saying, I won't treat people like that when I get in those positions or when I'm a leader. And so in many ways, that was an inspiration, because back to that, learn to go beyond surviving, but to thrive. It was one of those, let me go through this experience so I know what it feels like, and make sure that no one else that I interact with has to go through that experience.
And speaking of support, how has the industry been able to support you?
I would say overall the industry has been great. It's because of my experiences in the industry that I have met people from around the globe that I would never have met if I was not in this industry. And it's amazing to me how small the world now feels because of that. I mean, in one day, I may have web sessions from with someone in Italy, to someone in Australia, to someone in South Africa, all about the drone industry. And so the networking, the strategic partnerships has been absolutely wonderful. And, to come from a corporate environment to an emerging industry environment, this has just been a fabulous opportunity. So I would say overall, the industry has been great.
But there's always more we can do. And so, what are some ways that we can take that support from the industry and then encouragement for women and in this industry to the next level? And how do you personally define what that next level is, and what does that look like for you?
Okay. Uh, Another great question. So when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we're seeing a lot of companies. I mean, it's great being in the position that we are with Women in Drones, because we're seeing a lot of companies within the industry that are doing a good job with diversity, and they want to do more, and they value a diverse team. But I can tell you that overall, the opportunity is being inclusive of diversity is the missing ingredient. So diversity is one part, but the bigger part and the next step is inclusiveness, because you can hire a lot of great people that have the right skill sets, that are diverse, whether that be women or minorities or handicapped, whatever the diversity, however you want to define it. if they're not feeling like they're included, then you're still missing the boat. So to me, it's a combo. So we might have people that are underrepresented, and if they are thoroughly inclusive of those folks, if they thrive as much as everyone else, then we begin to make a lot of progress. The mistake is being made is when we think about diversity first and inclusion second. So to me, that's where we need to be. We need to flip that script. If we learn how to be inclusive of people, then we will be at a magnificent place for diverse perspectives. And I mean, let's face it, the data proves it. Companies that have diverse leadership and diverse teams are more innovative and more profitable. But the underlying key to really shaping the industry comes to inclusiveness. Give them a voice, let them have a seat at the table. And that goes from the boardroom down to the entry level positions. That's what's key.
So my final question for you is, what are some things that we can start doing today to get more women into the drone industry in the future?
Well, you know my mantra. It's about inspiring girls to develop an interest in STEM and aviation. And how do you do that? You start very early. Now, that's how you start fueling the pipeline from the very beginning. But the pipeline is in motion. So we've got those middle school, the high school, the college kids. And for that requires not only exposure and role models, but it's giving them an opportunity to see the possibilities. I mean, so many girls in high schools and Girl Scout programs that I've spoken with, a lot of them don't see themselves having those opportunities. And so give them a chance to have the Zoom conference calls, have the opportunity to engage with them, but then also just expose them from a very early age. And to your point earlier, normalize it. That it's okay for girls to play with drones. One of our greatest compliments was a father who wrote in and said, "Thank you for having this platform, because I never thought about taking my daughter out to fly drones with me. And now that I know that women do fly drones, I take her out all the time, and it's great father-daughter time." And you kind of go, that's how you make a difference. And so for me, the things that we can start doing is support programs that introduce it to drones and aviation into schools. Books, we have the children's books that we develop, because it is all about letting them, my saying, if you can see me, you can be me. Well, and you can take it to a whole nother level, but bottom line is look at ways to fuel the pipeline. Everyone has something to offer, and that's what we need to do. We need to encourage more women. And that's what our platform does. I mean, women say, this is incredible. I never knew that women fly this much, or that women are in various jobs within the industry, or they only think that the only jobs available are pilots. Well, no, there are attorneys, there are accountants, there are marketing people, there are writers, there are authors. All of them are needed, right? And that's what they need to see. That's what we need to know. And that's what we need to promote collectively as an industry.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, Sharon, for joining me.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really enjoyed speaking with you.